Man, that was an awesome build by JY Power, and we have Travis Young on tonight again. It's been a while, but he is here, and we're going to talk everything about batteries, capacitors, and the new salt batteries. No, not from the ocean, but sodium. We're going to talk about it, and without further ado, we got to kick off the intro. I know 28 guys are here, but we got to do the intro, man. And if you guys got any questions for Travis, please drop them down below, and I will see you guys in 3 minutes.
So we're kicking it with Andy, right? You know what that means. We living loud.
Is this thing on? What's going on, everyone? It is Friday. We're going to have an awesome show. We got Mr. Travis Young in the green room, but I have to say hello to everybody before we start. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Tonight's going to be awesome. We got 44 people up in here tonight. It's going to be a blast. It's Friday. It's weird not going live twice, 3, 4 times a week, but you know what? We got more to talk about, and batteries, man. Electrical, I love learning about it. I feel like it's one of my strong suits, but talking to this guy, it makes you realize how much you don't know. And that's what we're going to do today, is learn more about electrical and car audio, man. We'll have fun. What's going on, everyone? We got people in Kicker Club, Joseph Keenan, Joe Cook. Appreciate you guys. Eddie, Ryan, lovely. I know who that is. Kibo. Brandon Smith, what is up? Appreciate you tuning in. We got the notorious RVH. What's up, buddy? Appreciate all you guys. Jeff Wallace, everyone is throwing the dollar super chats because they look like $100 super chats. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are awesome. And now we can start the show because Deviant is here. Appreciate you, Deviant. What is going on? Stream Yard Pillow. Yes, we got the pillows. There's the pillow. I had to get it. I didn't win it. Today's stream is sponsored by StreamYard. Just kidding. Appreciate you guys. And I had to pick up a few things, you know. I mean, look how cute the StreamYard duck is. Like, he needs a name. You guys are going to name him. What is going on, Nilo Media? Got your wireless. I know, man. Budget. I will be coming at you very soon for that wireless temp sensor for voice coils. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for tuning in. Just crazy stuff, always. Okay, cool. Well, without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Travis Young from JY Power. This guy's awesome.
Hey, everybody.
What's going on, Travis? We're going to have some fun. Hey, I'm happy that you're here. You know, I try not to blow up your messenger too much with questions and stuff about whatever, but the stuff you got going on with your batteries, the technology stuff, it's top tier stuff, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. We try.
Absolutely. I like the background too. That's the JY NXT2.
It
correct?
is. This is the 2KF, yeah. And even though we had planned larger models because of the Salt release, we're going to hold back from that. Even though it's a great product, it kind of crosses over into the same price range. So we don't really want to confuse people with too many options. So,
right, too much of a good thing can be. And I was talking to somebody about that, and yeah, it was. You don't want to give them too many options. Here you go. Yep. You know, boom.
Yep.
That's awesome. I don't want to get off the beaten track too much, but that JY NXT2 is pretty much ideal as the real capacitor that you should put in your car for stock electrical.
Yeah, and absolutely. We have, I believe we just shipped out a batch today, and I think that makes about 1,500 out on the streets now. Woo. And they're going anywhere in between 1,500 watt to 3,000 watt installs, and they're mostly being sold in dealers. So when people are going into a dealer, that's what their dealer is recommending to them, and they're not getting the cylinder with a voltmeter on top of it filled full of tar. So we've all bought one of those. I bought one of them back, I think it was probably 2008. I had one. So didn't seem to do anything. So it didn't end up being in there that long. And I didn't know everything about batteries and capacitors back then. So I just kind of had to go with what I could tell was working and not working. So
right. How low is the voltage going, you know?
Yeah. And especially when the only voltmeter that you have is in the trunk. And we all learn.
Exactly. You know, I never would have thought you would have been that kind of guy, but we all start somewhere. We really do. We really do.
Absolutely. My very first sub was a Wolfenhagen 12 from the flea market, man. Like, I literally went to the flea market and bought it.
The red one?
Yeah.
Those are awesome.
Yep. And then I went to Best Buy and I bought an Insignia clearance amp for like $70. And I don't know what was wrong with what, but it's pretty much like whenever bass would hit, it was like the same frequency, no matter what.
Oh, wow.
It didn't like play higher or lower. It was just one or two frequencies that it played. So it was weird. But that was my start of car audio. 17-ish years ago. Oh, yeah.
We're getting old, Trav.
Saturday, awesome. show the white hairs. So
yeah. Hey, I don't have to. I don't need Just for Men quite yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank God for the nice cameras. No, but I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. And I know the topic of discussion will be mostly about these sodium batteries. I know I just picked one up off you last week. I got it yesterday, so it kind of came in perfectly. This is the Salt MD20K sodium ion battery. And tell me the difference between this one and the JYNXT and any other lithium that you buy, from wherever.
Well, so right now we actually sell two really unique products. So the NXT is not a lithium battery. It's a lithium ion capacitor, and we're the only company in audio that offers them. And they are a literal, the way that they're manufactured is halfway in between a lithium battery and halfway in between a capacitor. Yeah, okay. But there's only about 5% of the lithium there. So if you overcharge one of these, you're going to hear like a bang, and it may vent a little bit, but it's not going to go off like a big lithium battery would, because in essence, there's only about 4 amp hours worth of total capacity there. But in comparison, a big bank of capacitors, a bank of 6 Maxwell 3000s, that's rated for 500 farads instead of 2000, and it ends up being about 0.8 amp hours. So you get a lot more out of the NXT capacity wise, but you can't burst the same amount out of it because it's got a little bit higher resistance since it has more capacity. So
makes sense. I mean, there's always a trade-off. There's always a trade-off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's no one wonder battery. And even with this, it's not ultra high discharge. So the cells are, they're 30C rated cells. And we actually, where we put our ratings is their 15C rating, and that's charge and discharge. And it's rated to do that for 2,000 plus hours. So it's a very long living type of product. That's one of the kind of nice things about it.
Long shelf life, tons of cycles.
Yep, 25,000 to 50,000 cycles. Not as much as a capacitor. So again, you're trading off from 1 million to 25,000 to 50,000.
What's 1 million, 25,000? You know what I mean? I'm not going to. I'll lose it.
You actually do run into that. So the issue we run into is whether it's a battery or it's a capacitor, it has an organic electrolyte in it, and that electrolyte will start to rot kind of no matter what after about 15 years. So even then with capacitors, even if you haven't cycled them too much, they're going to start to degrade regardless, because there are organic compounds in there that are just going to wear down over time. So,
right. Yeah, time's the killer of all, but still, I mean, it really makes sense with the resistance, and you have a higher resistance, less discharge, but then you have more capacity, and you kind of got to find that trade-off with, what do you want, what you're trying to use your batteries for, and the battery's job, and just making that work.
Yep. And that's why for kind of the entry level installs to the 2000 watt installs, the NXT is kind of where it's at right now. It's so small, it's so reliable, and it comes in at a price point where most of those retail customers are going to be really comfortable. So it's under $400 from pretty much any dealer that you're going to get it from. So it works really well. We generally don't get NXT customers that have some issue or complaint about it. So it's been one of our best products.
It's perfect for that person that just has 1,000 watt RMS amp, and they got a lead acid up front. Since you can mix this with any AGM, lithium, lead acid, huge range. What, 6 to 17 volts, give or take? Like it's a range.
8 to 16.8. So
okay, still that's a huge range.
That's still a huge range. Yeah. And I've seen a couple questions pop up. How many cap banks is it equivalent to? So when we're comparing capacity, capacitors can run down to 0 volts. So there's a significant amount of energy in between like 0 and 9 volts that you're never going to use. So that it's rated, it's there, you're just never going to touch it. So with the lithium ion capacitor, since it does have that bottom voltage, that entire 0 to 9 volts gets shifted up into a usable voltage range. So where we measure, I going off my head right now, but I think it was 125 farads of usable capacity if you're charging it like 14.8 on a EDLC capacitor bank. But with the NXT, it was like 750 farads. So even though we're only about 4 times more, it comes out closer to 6 times more due to where the energy is actually stored and what your voltage needs are going to be to tap into that.
Where you're actually going to be using it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The range.
So in the capacity range, it's 5 to 6 times the amount of like an EDLC 3000 bank. And you see 4 times that in the rating. So
yeah, because with capacitors, like I've seen people, build e-bikes out of just purely capacitors, and it goes for like 10 seconds, because that's what they're meant to do, is just discharge instantaneously. It's static electricity. Am I right, or something like that? It's different.
No, that's absolutely what's going on in a traditional capacitor. You have, and that's why they're so close to lithium batteries. You're carbon on carbon there, and you're building up a static charge in between those carbon sheets, which are generally attached to aluminum. So you're building up a static charge in between them, and that's why they wrap them so tightly. And they actually do it on both sides of it, so that's where the double layer kind of comes in. But it's a really cool concept, and they've gotten near theoretical limits. So when people read that we have this 2000 farad capacitor and it's this big, they're like, bullshit. Like, if you don't know about lithium ion capacitors, it doesn't make any sense, because we've hit the near theoretical limits when it does come to EDLCs. So it's a cool technology. It's very niche though. The idea that people want more power and less capacity with some more cycle life, there's applications for it like ours, but they're fewer and farther in between. So it's never going to hit super mainstream where the costs are going to drop real significantly or anything like that. We do plan on doing a couple big ones, just for kind of shits and giggles. We kicked around an NXT 25KF, so Jesus. It's a 10,000 watt standalone, and it comes in a pack about this big. So
that's tiny. That's tiny.
Yeah. It's equivalent to roughly about 50 amp hours.
I was gonna say like 25 plus amp hours, but if you're telling me 50 amp hours, and then being able to discharge and recharge as almost as fast as a capacitor is insane. I haven't messed too much with the JYNXTs. I mean, I've used them on an amp dyno, but mostly with the quad box, just 2 of those little guys, and it was able to withstand it. It's way out of the parameters, but it still withstood it. And when I did run it in its range that it was operable, with 100 amp stock, it was punchier than the JY40. It just, I could just tell. It's just like when you do the big 3 in your car, you can tell that you did something. It sounds louder, but
that's
better.
The thing. It's a significant change when you put one in and you're using it in the parameters that, we kind of tell you to use it in. Because, and even when you use it a little bit outside that range, because, I mentioned that they're actually 30C cells, and the only reason we don't let it sit there is because the voltage falls a little too fast for what we rate our products at. And the product, if you were to run it that hard the way we do, which is full cycles down, full cycles up, not you guys, but we do that. After a couple cycles, you'll start to overheat the cell, which will really damage the cycle life. So that's why we don't rate them that high. We actually chop that rating in half, and you're able to do that all day long at that point. You don't have to consider like how hot is that getting right now. So
I know you definitely underrated them a little bit, and that's a good thing, because we're all dummies, Oh yeah, I got a 4K amp, and I got to wire down the half ohm. I'll be fine.
No, it'll be all right.
No one stays within the measure parameters. But then that's another thing too, where people are like, it's only 60 amps continuous, but man, again, underrated.
So
and your voltage is always going to drop, unless everything's perfect. Everything's got to be perfect.
And something a lot of people don't consider is if you have a 6 bank of EDLCs, those are realistically about 70 amps continuous for 20 seconds to drop from 14.8 to about 12.0. So when I'm telling you, you get 60 amps out of ours for 45 seconds, not 20, to 13, so a full volt higher.
Wow.
You're actually the significance in the like you're gonna drop much slower, and the price is very comparable. Six pack costs around $350 in raw caps. Yeah,
Easy.
if you get one cased, it's $500. So that's where it comes in, and it's a really sweet product, and they're so small you can kind of tuck them in anywhere. Unfortunately, I normally have one. There actually here's one of the clear cases. So it fits in the palm of my hand. You know it's my screen's eating it. But yeah, so I mean they're little itty bitty. We have a customer running 10 of these on Assault 6K
Ooh.
with his stock 100 amp alternator, and he hangs up out in the upper 13s, and his car charges like 14.2. So he's a really happy camper. He bought a bunch of our B stocks. He bought like 3 or 4 of them off of Down for Sound. And he was really pleased. Like, he started out with an 800 watt amp and one, and then every time he upgraded amplifiers, he added a couple more NXTs. Yeah,
and they're so small. I mean, if you're gonna go with a big system, maybe it is a little bit smarter. That would be perfect for the 25K that you might make. It might be a little bit more cost effective, just like anything in life, but that's just, it's nice to have that flexibility of just being able to add on to it. And the sheer weight. Did you see, I picked this thing up with my hand.
Oh yeah.
It's just insane. And that's good for 2, 3, 4K.
Yeah. We've only been talking about basically the year old. This is about a year and a half old now at this point. And it's gonna stick around for a while. I see these being around for at least 3 to 5 more years. And if they may actually get better. There may be a sodium ion capacitor coming out. So the company that we actually get them from is trying to develop a sodium ion capacitor, which the cost will come down on because the materials are much less costly.
Yep.
So
and that's what I want to get to is the sodium batteries. But before we do that, Deviant, thank you for the $2 super chat, and we got to drop the Dave video just because he's pushing me here. He's pushing me.
Yeah, don't forget to hit the like. You gotta hit the like. Love them. It's real easy. That thing that goes like this. Pretty simple.
That's it. Thank you, Deviant. Sorry, Travis. That's just how this show kind of goes. It goes sideways a little bit, But the sodium batteries.
Yeah.
The sodium batteries, man. And I did a little bit of research on my end, and I know you know A to Z on it. From what I understand is that it's just going to be cost effective. There's more sodium out there than there is just pure lithium or lithium ion or whatever you're mixing with the lithium to make a battery. And I think it's the future of batteries. Maybe not as energy dense as everything in the world, but at the end of the day, it's just like if you can put your car and have it drive on salt water or just water in general, you're going to do that in the whole country, and just the economics, I think, would switch to that eventually down the road.
Well, and it's not so much about just replacing lithium, but kind of coexisting and going in places where putting lithium doesn't make as much sense, because lithium's still going to be the lightest, the strongest. Well, not necessarily strongest. We'll circle back to that. Lithium's going to be the most energy dense and the most power dense the majority of the time into a physical size. But when cost comes into play and we're not able to pull enough lithium out of the sea or out of the ground, which we all pull it out of the ground right now, but they're developing ways to pull it out of the sea. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that happens. Sorry, dad joke. We'll get around to whether or not that technology pans out, but the cost of lithium has something like 10 times in the last few years. As that ominous music kicks in, that's exactly the sound of the lithium prices over the last few years, which is why lithium hasn't come down in price. Like, we were all, lithium's come down in price since JY started. But, I mean, we've seen probably about a 40% reduction in dollar per watt over 8 years, which is significant. You know, that's
Right, right.
significant. But it stagnated out like 3-ish years ago. Like cell prices have been about the same. Like we could get a little bit stronger cells, but they got more expensive. And so the problem
Right.
is lithium carbonate prices shot through the roof. So in comes sodium. A lot of people have been working on sodium for a long time. Once lithium prices shot up like they did, the Chinese said, we're just going to get it done. So we've been trying to get a sodium ion battery for over 3 years now from the only American company that makes them, Natron. And they have a 1.5 amp hour or 1.5 volt, 5 amp hour cell that's about this big. It's gigantic. But you can pull like 2,000 watts out of this 5 amp hour cell. Meaning when you knock, 7 of them together to build a 12 volt battery, that's 14,000 watt capable 5 amp hour battery. Which that sounds really cool, right?
Yeah,
That sounds
but-
awesome. That's not gonna last for like any amount of time, and you're paying a very significant amount for like that amount of material for 5 amp hours. So they use what's called Prussian blue, and it's a completely separate type of sodium ion battery from the way China is manufacturing them now. They're doing what's called a hard anode silicon, and we won't really get into like the chemistry and stuff like that. It is more environmentally friendly, and there are no problem children like cobalt and nickel in them. So that is a big positive and helps keep the cost down and the morality of it high.
Right.
So
right.
we want to stay away from cobalt.
Yeah, a little friendlier on the environment, just win-win. Yeah.
Most cobalt is mined through slave labor, unfortunately. There are robotic mines. Yeah. Your cell phone has cobalt in it and is a product of slave labor, unfortunately. There's still some lasting vestiges of it. So
You guys are trolling me in the comments right now, but
So-
that's cool to hear, and hopefully that that doesn't happen anymore, as much with just because I feel like that's how a lot of things started, man, with just cheap labor and getting it done, but then making things, and there's always a trade-off, but to make it a little bit more at least
Well, it's also where it's
environmentally
located.
friendly.
Most of the reserves that we know about are in the Congo. So that you got it right. Blood cobalt. That there's kids in those mines. There's kids in those mines. So,
Wow.
but I have my cell phone. I have electronics that have cobalt in them. I'm not going to say I'm guilt free, but as a company, JY Power doesn't sell any products that use any cobalt. So
Wow.
LFP does not use any cobalt. So yeah, LTO, dirty little secret there. LTO does not stand for the chemistry of the battery. A lot of people don't know that. That's
Not lithium
the
titan oxide or whatever.
that replaces the carbon anode. The cathode is still an NMC battery. So there's
MC.
NMC.
Okay.
So it's like a CMAX, but instead of having a carbon anode, it has a lithium titanate oxide anode, which is why the voltage is lower. But lithium titanate oxide is not the reactive chemistry of LTO batteries.
Wow. And is
Yeah.
that why C-Max is so energy dense? Because it has that carbon anode?
It has
cathode?
nickel. Yeah, it has nickel and it has cobalt in it. They are, unfortunately, those are wonderful things to use for building batteries. One of the
Right.
problems, we've talked about cobalt. One of the problems with nickel costs about 3 times more than copper, or 4 times more than copper per pound.
Jeez. I should
Yep.
start using nickel runs for my audio wire.
No, nickel's not a very
No.
good conductor. No.
No, it's not. Okay.
And that's something that actually makes these guys special. Is we only use nickel jumpers to copper bus bars in these. That's why we're able to get them so energy dense. We don't just have a little nickel ladders in there like you would have on an e-bike or something like that.
Right.
There's
yeah,
custom
yeah.
tooled copper parts and we weld those. There's nickel tabs, laser welded copper bus bars inside those, and then we weld the nickel tab to the actual cell inside in-house. So
I feel like putting a battery together is very key, and that's why I went with you guys in the very beginning, because I'm like, now I feel comfortable I could do it.
Yeah,
but it's
absolutely.
Just, it's like, man, I don't know. For something like this, I want to have someone do it and do it right. There's been the horror stories, and just the way you describe how you put it together, it's made with love. That's awesome.
We put a lot of effort into our products, and that helps them be smaller and kind of more powerful, and it gives them their own unique thing. But we encourage people to DIY too. Let me fix my light a little bit. It's the sun's setting, so it's gonna mess me up.
It happens. Thank you, Kibo, and I think that was Dub for the $2 super chats. Appreciate you guys. Looks like somebody lost a raccoon, kangaroo. It's probably Dubs. Sorry about that. Dubs all the way out in Australia.
And we'll circle back around to that. But on we gotta kind of. I have ADD, so I'll bounce around just as much as you will.
You're good. You're on a perfect podcast.
Yep. So sodium is a lot less supply line intensive. And sodium carbonate's a lot easier to make. It's a lot easier element to extract, and it's a lot more abundant. It's considerably more abundant too. Not like 5 or 10 times more. It's a multiple factors more abundant in the available Earth's crust. So
supply,
it's really
demand,
exciting.
It should
be
makes
and
sense.
To kind of put it into perspective right now where we are energy density wise, an LFP 18650, the power cell variant, that's going to be about 10C.
Little guys, yeah.
What we have is a 3.5 from K2, and so it's a 1.35 10C, so it means you can discharge 13 amps out of it. What we're getting, we have 2 variants of 18650 sodium batteries right now. One's a 1.2 amp that is rated at 10C, and the other one is a 1.5 that is rated at 7C.
There's always that give and take for capacity and discharge.
Yep.
And that's a lot
when
of
you add it all up
for
it's in between 9 and 13, so we're just slightly under the power capacity when we actually have more energy. 1.5 amp hours in the sodium. So the sodium isn't even a power cell at that point. But the fun thing is, on a lithium energy cell, you can't recharge it much more than at a 1C rate. So 1 hour. 1 hour
Right.
max charge rate. Best bet. Realistically, you're probably looking at an hour and a half with the way it trickles off at the end.
Right, the last, yeah.
Yeah. This sodium energy battery is able to recharge at 4C, meaning you can recharge it in 15 minutes. Call it 25 minutes with a trickle off charge. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's awesome.
That's just the type of, because it's, what is the the sodium that you have in there, is that on the anode or cathode side, or is it just all different compared to everything else?
That is on the cathode side. On the anode is a hard carbon. So on like a lithium battery, it does have a hard carbon anode. So and that's why it is that's why they've actually been able to ramp up so fast. And there's tons of new cells coming out. We're actually changing what cells we're using. We will use the 18650s in some of the models we have coming out, but we have a larger cell that we can build a 90 amp hour battery with less welds than the HE36. So we're gonna go ahead and use that one because it increases our production capacities.
Makes sense.
We have a CNC welder. We have a CNC resistance welder, but that we can still only pump out so much at a time, and demand is so high for this product that it's limited on our cash flow pretty much. So we're actually getting ready to take another round of loans out just to fund how many batteries everybody's going to need here soon. So, but we can pull up some of the video and just kind of show people, like, there's me talking about it, And then there's me pounding nails in cells and me dead shorting a battery out and then recharging it. So
All right, cool.
So-
Let's let me make sure we're good to go. Do you want your voiceover on or no? What do you
Nah,
doing right now?
go ahead and turn the voiceover off and I'll just kind of narrate it
All right,
just
cool.
so we can kind of pop in and out. So I've drained this cell already down to 1.5 volts. So that cell is basically dead already. The 1.5 volts is the bottom voltage of what these cells are rated for. They're rated 1.5 to 4. So I'm talking about how fast I'm going to
That's a
recharge
pretty
it.
long range. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wide range. Yeah.
It's a very wide range, which has its ups and downs. There is a downside to that. The upside to it is if you were to come out to your car and it were sitting at 8 volts, you could start it. It still has plenty of energy left. It still has 20% of its energy or so left into it. The problem is 20% of your energy is down there.
Right. And you
So
yeah.
yep.
Use it down there.
No. And so if people are watching here, I have dead shorted that battery out for the last 10, 15 seconds. It didn't get hot because there was barely any energy in it. I was holding it in my hand. So now we're going to take this and we're going to recharge it at 10 amps. And this is one of the 1.2 amp hour cells, which is around a 7C recharge, if I remember right. I need to do the math on that.
7C on a little 18650 is retarded, just so you guys know. You know, if you guys do any
8.33. 8.33C recharge. And we're doing this from having just dead shorted it.
Yep.
Like it was
and
just dead shorting, completely done.
That's really hard on a battery. It's really
Yep.
hard.
And we're going to move over to the temperature soon. And I believe the maximum temperature we see is 118 degrees. And we actually we hit 3.6 volts within 13 minutes in this test.
Wow, so pretty much fully charged because that's
Yeah.
3.2 is fully.
You can
charged,
go to
right? Or
4.
that's- Yeah.
3.2 isn't charged on
That's
these. So
nominal.
3.6. Yeah,
Okay.
3.6, 3.7 is fully
Can you
charged.
send me some of those from my vape? I think it'd be great. You know.
Yeah, no, actually, if you have a mechanical mod, I think
Yep.
these would be great, and you
Yep.
don't have to worry about them blowing up. Like,
Nope. Nope.
Chip, you're gonna
Hey, let
take
me
a
know
hit
what
on
you
your
got.
capacity, but
Yeah.
if we can get you a charger to do it, you can recharge them in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I got a lithium iron phosphate and ion 18650 charger, so I'm sure one of them would work for that for the most part. But
It'll
yeah,
definitely work. You could use it on the NMC because it actually it'll play fine up to 4.2. So
Oh, then it'd be good. Regular
Mm-hmm.
lithium iron charger, you'd be good to go, and you get a little bit of less capacitance. But the cycle life on lithium ion 18650s is terrible. At least from what
depending
I
on
know.
well, and it in the use case that you're using them, yeah, you're gonna get about a year out of them. But
Yep.
in a year, if you charge them twice a day, that's 700 cycles, and your pulse discharging probably what 30, 40 amps,
Yeah,
50
yeah,
amps.
at least 50 to 30. Yeah.
You're
15 to 30.
hitting that thing at like 50, 60 C, and you're just like, take it. I'm gonna do this for 5 seconds at a time. So right now our temps. I'm showing the clip temperature. So I'm talking about how the alligator clips. You got to be really careful about how you attach them because that can generate more heat than the actual cell itself. So the alligator clips were at 160 degrees, and the cell was at about 115. So
Is that because of just the resistance between the clip and the battery itself?
whenever you're charging or discharging at a high rate, the internal resistance of the cell is going to help dictate how much heat is going to be lost. Just kind of like a same thing as a voice coil. You got dual ones, dual twos, and you can actually how much power you can run through an ohm load differs. So
Resistance is, Ohm's
Yep.
law, fun
at
stuff.
the same voltage, we have to make sure we have that stipulation there. If you allow the voltage to change, then your higher ohm load coils will draw less power. So
Right. I know that's a thing I think I asked you about too was just, how if you would run this with a different type of battery, which you shouldn't anyway, but just the resistance values of what's really discharging the power, and you got a bunch of batteries together in the back of your car, can you just put a JY NXT in front of it or behind it in the mix? Which one's really gonna,
Yeah, you can. And so it comes down to what has capacity and what voltage range. So realistically, if you have an NXT in your system or a sodium, because sodium has a pretty non-linear discharge curve, meaning it comes down at an angle the whole time.
Which is nice. Yes.
it can be. Depends on what your application is. There's caveats there, but not to dive down a rabbit hole. Sometimes you want a flat voltage curve. Yeah. And that's why a lot of people like LFP, because you get the same exact voltage up until about 20%, and then it's done. Dead. So, but again, it boosts how much capacity is up in that usable range. So I'm really handsy tonight, apparently. Yeah. But
you're on the perfect show. Tell you.
So, and see here, we've actually started to come down. I've readjusted the clip, and we started to come down on temperatures. We've started to actually taper off on amperage at this point also. I wish I would. Oh, hey, there I go, zooming in. So we're down to 5 amps. We're up to 3.6 volts, and I don't know how many minutes it's been in the video, but yeah. So we're at 6 minutes, and it's at least 80% charged by this point. So
that's insane.
Show me a lithium battery that you can do that with. Yeah.
and just so that people understand, this isn't the entire bank. So if you have a bunch of these, then they can take much more input current.
Yeah, and I actually talk about that a little bit. If we're talking about like a 40 amp hour battery, you'd be trying to supply it with about 400 amps worth of current for 6 minutes, and it would take it.
Wow.
This is you jump starting your car and then letting your alternator bring your battery up, and your battery just going whatever.
Oh, I know, and my alt does not thank me for that.
No.
It's dying. No. It seems like it is. It's like, all right, let's put that on the charger, then start the car. That's a lot at an idle pull.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I wrote these times down. If we want to jump to 9:15, I start hammering a nail in the next one.
There we go.
Yeah, so we're showing voltage here. So we've got it charged to 3.6 volts. It was charged to 3.7, but since I charged it fast, as soon as I took the clips off, it kind of dropped down a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, voltage.
But it's near fully charged here. Yeah. And then I missed my first hammer. I've usually used brad nails for this.
So this is the puncture test, just in case something foreseen happens, get in a car accident. What's going to happen?
Yep. And it's going to be harder to see here, but some little wisps of smoke come out kind of immediately. And it does this for about 3 or 4 minutes. I think it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, you see the smoke
just
coming
shy
out
of
a
4.
little bit.
Yeah, so it's bubbling. It's shot up into the 200s instantly. All of the power of that cell is dumping into that one point, because that is an internal short. And even though I like the tests of people shooting batteries, the thing that doesn't work there is you are removing the metal immediately. You're not providing a dead short there. So, and I saw somebody say Protos, CMAX NMC batteries. If you try and puncture them when they're really low on charge, or if the temperature of the cell is real low, you may actually get a pretty decent, not crazy reaction. But if you hit a cell that is warm and is fully charged, yeah, I would immediately evacuate the area. We did it in the old warehouse, and it was about 1,500 square feet in the area that we were in, and we couldn't see from one side of the room to the other.
That's smoky.
with a single CMAX cell. Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're doing up in Canada. Just messing with CMAX cells.
Well, and I don't have any problem with CMAX. You definitely just need to respect what's there. You need to build it properly. You need to have proper balancer on it. You're already saving a ton of money by utilizing that chemistry and getting it out of a salvage type situation.
Right.
Just build it the right way. Put that on it. Put covers over the bus bars. Make sure balancers are on. And even if the balancer's on, check the balance every once in a while. Balancers can fail. They have a 1% to 2% failure rate. So
really? Wow.
Yeah.
So it's better just to disassemble your pack.
No, put a balancer on it and then just check it every once in a while. Check it every once in a while.
Just look, you just got to look at it once in a while. I get it.
Yeah. Now, and like NXTs, we've had 3 failures in 1,500 units out over the last year. So failure rates can get under 1% with balancer units. But sometimes balancers just stop working. Sometimes balancers actually move power in the wrong direction. So they can cause an imbalance. Yeah. It's rare, but like we've had units just kill themselves. So yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, as people can see, I don't think we paused it.
No.
At all, did we? Going. No. Okay. Hey, there it goes. Going. It's just starting now.
Oh.
So it's gotten up to about 300 degrees at this point. 300 degrees Fahrenheit. While you don't want to touch this, this is not going to burn its way through most plastic hulls. I'm not going to say if you picked your plastics really badly that this couldn't melt through it, but even being punctured, this is about 100 degrees away from its thermal runaway point, which is around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 392 to be somewhat. Yeah. So, and that's as reactive as it gets. Yeah, fuck Dan Current. Sorry, I probably wasn't supposed to curse. My bad.
You're good.
That's what it's supposed. Everybody's supposed to say that though. So, but
we love Dan. Not today, Dan.
That's the gist of it. That's the end of what happens, and this is usually the hardest test to pass. So, the next test is going to be super boring without sound.
So we need sound. We can do sound.
Hold on. I'm in the wrong place.
Full tilt boogie or something like that? Yeah. Nice. Google Chrome. Crank that up.
Go ahead and play the first bit of it, and then we're going to skip to the end, because nothing happens. Like, we just watch voltage climb. So...
Yeah. What time you want me to go to?
So go ahead and start at the beginning of that test. I can't. It's gonna almost look the same.
Okay.
We're gonna skip to 25:15. Where do I?
Man, just looking at that, that's crazy to put a nail into a battery, causing the dead short. And then it's just going to get hot because you're connecting the circuit within itself, making a complete circuit, a dead short, and it's just going to go full tilt boogie. Depending the resistance of the nail, I would assume it has something to do with it. Would it not, or is it just metal, and the resistance of the battery itself?
If you put a copper nail in there, maybe it'd be a little bit more reactive. But at that point,
CCA, huh? No CCA.
It's such a small distance that it's traveling that even if your metal's 6 times resistive, you're still going to be able to transfer a boatload of current through it.
Right.
So, and that's where NXT busing comes in. NXT busing, being copper, it's only about 0.2 millimeters thick, but since it's 45 millimeters wide, we still have a substantial cross section. Wow. So, yeah, so it ends up working out really well. So,
that's insane. Yeah, I know you wanted to show something else here on the video. What time frame?
Basically, we started overcharging this at 13 or 15 minutes in. We're going to jump to roughly 25 flat.
25. There we go. That'll work. Then you wanted sound, right?
Yeah.
It will die. Someday in the near future.
I'm
Don't you just
promising
love
people
hearing
that it'll
yourself?
die.
Death upon thee.
I force death upon thee. So we're at 5 volts right now.
I
it's
see
taking
that
some
in the top
time.
right there.
Yeah. And we are charging this at 10 amps again, so we're at an 8C recharge, overcharge, not just
Wow.
recharge, overcharge.
That's
Gotta
crazy.
be
5
you gotta
volts
be
to a
quiet.
little 18.
It's almost there. Shh.
Okay, good.
There
There
was
it went. That's it.
that
Done.
click. That's it. That's what happens when
Is
you.
what happens when you overcharge.
That's it, huh? Let me go
Yep.
back right about there. That's it.
There was.
Little
That's
snap.
it.
Sound like a
Done.
snap.
That's it. Little snap. That's
That
it.
is what happens
No
when you
huge plumes of
overcharge.
smoke. No nothing.
In my eyes.
That's it. It's done. It's at 15 volts because it
Yeah.
disconnected itself out of the circuit. So when that goes to vent, it actually rips the internal connectors apart before it opens the vent. So before it's
Wow.
able to vent, it disconnects itself from the system. Now that ruins your battery. To be very clear, don't go charge your battery to 22 volts and be like, "Hey, this thing doesn't work anymore." Because I know why. I know roughly what you've done to it to get it to that point.
Yeah. I seen in your listing it said it's like a one-time thing. Like it's just that's it and then
Yeah.
it's done. And that's for safety, so that
Yeah.
these things don't just happen to catch on fire more so than not.
Yep.
Or-
Because
yeah.
here's the thing: if the electrolyte is still very similar to what's inside lithium batteries. So if we got to a point where there was a large amount of vapor being expelled, that'd still be flammable. But since the thermal runaway is so high, at 400, LFP is around 350, NMC is down towards 300. So like it takes so much more to get it to the point where you pretty much have to put it into an oven or start it on fire already. Like if you take a blowtorch directly to the cells, I'm not going to tell you that you can't start it on fire.
Right. Things can happen. You can have a car full
Yeah.
of blue shag, it's just
There's
a little bit
still-
more flammable,
It's still organic stuff, but there's a whole lot of like cool things built in, and being able to drain it down. One of the reasons you don't want to do that with a lithium battery, you'll start to pull copper ions from one side to the other because of the chemical reactions, not just because you're draining it down too low, because there's a specific chemical reaction happening with lithium where it'll start to pull copper ions. With
Wow.
sodium, it just doesn't do that. So you can drain it all the way down and it doesn't matter.
So there's no
That's also-
desulfation or sulfation.
No.
There's
Well-
none of that. Or
So what it's called in this is dendrite growth. So it actually
Dendrite,
starts to
okay.
build little itty bitty copper bridges from one side of the battery to the other.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes the cell fall in a sense,
Yeah.
or dead short
Yeah.
inside of itself. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So
That-
and
and
it
these
creates
ones won't
internal
do
heat.
that.
No. No.
Wow.
We've cycled the cell down to 0 volts over 100 times.
That sounds like
I
0
know.
ohms. It doesn't sound real.
No, I know, right? And it still it actually grew for the first, and this is normal for new cells, but it grew for the first 50 cycles and then just leveled off. And now we have like a 2 or 3% variance between like what we actually get, which is within what our capacity tester actually does. We don't have a super like $10,000 capacity tester. No, we have pretty economical capacity testers that
I was going to
just
ask you,
within
what kind of capacity
2%.
tester do you have? Because I always wanted to get one, but it's like, what kind of
Ours are
capacity tester
reasonable.
do you? Yeah, because it's like, do I
Ours
get
are
it
pretty
for-
reasonable.
Okay.
They're about you can get them on Alibaba.
yeah,
Anything
yeah,
battery
yeah.
related. I think you can get them on AliExpress too. I'll see if I can't find a link or if they're on eBay. But or SRKO, Brad's site may have them also.
Oh, of course.
But I think it's the EBD 20, but it's a 20 amp max constant. But it's programmable, and you just tell it what voltage you want it to discharge to, what amperage you want it to pull at, if you want it to do constant power or if you want it to do constant amperage.
Oh,
but
that makes
it's
sense.
basic.
Yeah, because
because
That's
that'll
cool.
change. Yeah. But it's
Yep.
a 300 watt max, so you can't pull 20 amps out of something that's say 24 volts because that's going to go over the 300 watt max that it has.
Right.
But still, for most things, for what we're doing, cell level testing, and then we do full pack capacity testing just to check state of health. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would just be nice to do on a battery. I know it's bad to like fully cycle them anyway, but still to get a capacity test on your battery you've had for 4 years to see where you're at. Because I have one that's like one of those dinky ones, but it just pretty much checks the internal resistance of it.
Yeah.
And it tells you crank amps, and that for lithium, what we're doing, I feel like
those
it's
don't
not
really
accurate.
work. Yeah, those
No.
don't really work on because you'll get
No.
these wacky high readings, and you'll be like 3,000 CCA out of this 20 amp hour battery, and you're like, I'm not gonna try and pull 3,000 amps out of this. You're high. Stop it.
We can do it. We can do it.
So, and those work on an algorithm. So it's checking internal impedance and saying, hey, the internal impedance of a lead acid battery, this is going to drop to this voltage roughly. So it's either good or it's bad. Does not work with lithium batteries because it sees that ultra low resistance and it's like, hell yeah, brother.
Yes, it's
Yeah, no.
amazing.
Yeah, no, it's don't try and do that. With
Yeah.
lithium and sodium, you're actually going to look at like your 10-second pulse numbers or your 30-second pulse numbers, depending on whatever they provide that's applicable. So,
Right, it makes sense. And with all lithium, with everything, I mean, it's just like how life works. You know, you run it within reason, you run it how you should. You shouldn't have a problem.
no.
But some
No.
you can. Some you can.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just,
And-
you know.
And these are like for the people that are too long didn't read. These are as dummy proof as batteries have gotten in near history. The price on them right now is comparable or slightly less than lithium. Over the next couple years, it'll become lower than lithium, considerably. And I mean considerably. Like
Wow.
I'm guessing 3 years from now, you'll have a 90 amp hour that can power 7 to 8K for $600.
Oh, well, you know who to call, right? For your first, hi. But that's amazing, and that's just how the world works. One day you're driving a car costs you 2 yearly salaries. Now it still costs 3 now, but still, you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Things get a little bit cheaper
Yep.
down the road, and it's awesome to just see the development process. And I tell people, I'm like, Travis Young, he's an artist. He's an artist with these batteries, and it's amazing what you guys accomplish, really, 100%. And these guys still can't find the kangaroo, man. I don't know where this kangaroo came from, but thank you guys.
I
Appreciate
don't know what
you.
it is.
Hey, they're always working up something, man. They really are, these guys. But they make the show happen too. And appreciate you guys. Super chat supporting. Kibo is better than Laura. That's actually his wife. You got to be careful there, man. Might be sleeping on the couch tonight. Coronut, he's saying the world. I'm guessing because they're eco-friendly. These new batteries. Maybe that's yeah.
They're gonna take over too. I mean, I know C-Max is gonna stick around probably because it's high performance. As long as there's a supply of it, I think there's definitely gonna be people doing that. But there's gonna be DIY sodium. I'm already trying to find a cell for
Ooh.
everybody that likes to DIY.
Yeah.
JY traditionally doesn't like. Okay, the first thing that we started selling was basically a DIY kit, but we moved into a dealer model, and dealers don't like putting shit together.
No.
So, but I always leak information to the community. I will get these cells out and about and make sure people are able to get them. There's some cool 8 amp hour and 10 amp hour ones that sound like they're going to come in studded variants. So be able to replace Headway with something a little bit more
Ooh.
reliable and hopefully a little bit cheaper and a little bit more powerful. So
That's crazy. And I've always heard as Headway is the budget DIY lithium iron phosphate. Way to
Yeah.
go. Maybe not the most energy dense, but it's cheap and it kind of works, for what it is.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect like stellar performance out of it, but if you're switching from AGM to something like that and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
willing to replace cells or like realistically, it's more gonna probably be you making it fail than it failing on its own. but those cells are not super abuse resistant. So if you abuse them, they're going to start leaking. They're going to have issues. But they aren't bad cells, and they're relatively safe. They're not LTO levels of safe, obviously, because they're not LTO. But I don't have any problem with Headway cells. I think they're awesome. They're better if you buy them new. Like if you're buying them for $12, $15 a piece, they're not new. New cells, I think, go for $25, $30 a cell or something like that. So you're gonna pay more, but you're getting a better cell. So yeah.
Right, and it's just how life goes. You get what you pay for, and it'll be cool to for the DIYers. Maybe they've been building banks of whatever lithium they want to run, and to try the new upcoming. I mean, that's a smart business move on yourself too, to make it available for those guys as well. And it's kind of a win-win. But me coming in with the lithium game, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt safe. And that's why I was like, I don't know what it was about you guys. I just felt safe with the batteries you guys designed, and how you guys carried yourself too. And then the whole Kicker affiliation, I'm like, man, it's a no-brainer. And I seen the damn
cube.
Kicker cube. I'm like, okay, this is awesome, and I have to try it out. Jason,
Man, that was a big battery bank in that thing. We had 16 K-80s in there, and besides, there's a couple people with bigger banks out now. Hank and RP being one in their van.
oh wow,
Carlos might be close, but I don't think he has quite. I know he doesn't have anywhere near what Hank has, but Hank's got, I think, close to 2,000 or 3,000 amp hours, where we only had 1,400. Or no,
1,400
12.
amp hours?
I can't remember. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. Like
That's a lot.
But I mean, we were able to play for 6 to 8 hours on. Like we had a max potential of 65,000 watts, but the way music plays, you're not pulling 65,000 watts the whole time.
No,
So,
you're not.
Yeah.
But I don't think it needed to. It was loud
No.
enough to.
So it did it. I mean, once Hunter and I got the work done on the front cabin, and actually got the front cabin sealed, we were doing a 70 on about 10K. So
That's it. Damn, that's
Yeah.
insane. I mean, you had 40 woofers. The guys are gonna be like, "Well, you had 40 kickers in there. That's
Yeah.
why you did." But still,
40 Q15s, like
Yeah.
SQ subwoofers, and like honestly, after you get past a certain point, you're fighting a losing battle adding subs.
right? Yeah, because then you run into. I see so many guys have problems because they tried jamming so many in there, and then they got like phase issues and like subwoofers fighting the other subs. It
a
just
lot of
gets
people
crazy.
A lot of people have problems actually tracking down what their actual issue is, and they hear keywords like phase cancellation. Phase cancellation was not a thing in the cube. Like some points in the cube, sure, not where we metered, not where people listen to it.
Right.
You're always going to have some kind of phase cancellation at some point. It's not about the speakers facing at each other. It's about wavelengths being different distances away from each other and
And the same
meeting at a
frequency.
point where there's a high point and a low point meeting, and you get a minus 3 dB or a minus 6 dB or
from
whatever.
the actual wave
Yeah,
itself. And
Yeah, we're not like, oh, you pointed two speakers at each other, so now you can't hear them
dare you.
anymore. They're completely gone from existence, and you cannot hear them. No, that's not how it works. And as I've gotten into SQ, I've learned more and more about how a lot of that works.
I bet.
But what the big issue with the cube was, we had plenty of airspace. I had over 200 cubic feet in there, man. And I shouldn't say had. It's still built that way.
Yeah.
But
I know you got plans for that. I know it's probably not kicker.
yeah,
but
well,
still.
no, like it's up in the air. We'll see what happens with it.
Okay, yeah. Don't
It's
tease
still
me, Trav.
sitting. It's still sitting at kicker. Irby's been
wow.
nice enough to store it for me, because that's it and its trailer are just sitting there.
Hey, you know what? I'm going down in August, so I'll just drive it back.
Pictures with
and
it
I'll
if you
park
want
it
to.
out front.
Hey, if you can tow that somewhere, be my guest. You only have to put 12 new tires on the trailer because it's been sitting for 3 years.
It's not. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it.
About
Ron's gonna
$4,000
kill me.
worth of tires. It's about $4,000 worth of tires, and
Yeah.
then it's about $3,000, $4,000 worth of gas to get it to, or diesel to get it to you.
Man, you're making us not sound so sweet anymore. But you know what?
Yeah.
I can't.
It's a little expensive.
Yeah.
But the big issue with it wasn't cancellations, wasn't any of that. It's a fourth order.
Right.
We thought that the cabin to the box opening was gonna become the port tuning. And that was gonna tune it around 30 hertz, which we were like,
wow.
it's low,
Yeah.
but we couldn't open it up anymore. What are we supposed to do? Cut the cab roof off? Like,
yeah.
it's
Then
as open can be. Yeah.
Wow.
So, like,
That's crazy.
the front door became the tuning point. Since we always played it front door open,
Yeah.
that front door is tuned at 17 hertz.
I was gonna say it would have to be lower because it's smaller.
Yep. It's much
Wow.
smaller. So it's about 17 hertz tuning. And the reason we never saw the spike in the tuning graph is because we never dropped below 20 when we were doing our fucking testing. So one day we were playing around with it and I was like, take it to 15. And I think it was the day that we were doing SPL testing outside. And we did a 147, and this was before we got all the cabin upgrades done. So it was about 3 dB down. We were only doing a 67 at the time, but on the dash. But we were doing a 147 at 6 feet at 55. And then at 20, we were doing a 140. And then at 15, we were doing like a 139.8.
That's insane. Like that's 6 feet away outside of the car, park and pound style, where these guys are like barely touching 40s. You know, you're doing it at 15, 20 hertz plus.
Yep.
And that's why it was such a crowd reaction.
It was
getter,
so much
man.
fun.
Like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yep.
I know. Yeah.
So I don't like, we talk about rebuilding it, but in hindsight, I would love to turn it around. Honestly, and just
around.
let it fire out the back.
Oh, and then
That
people
would've
just
been-
line up and just get
Would have
in
been
there.
better. Yeah, that would have been better,
Wow.
and it would have breathed more, so that I actually would have had enough port area to actually tune 100 plus cubic feet on the front end of that. Because
Wow.
once you start getting over 100 cubic feet, you can't tune it. It's tuned to whatever it's tuned to. So
yeah, that you're just bigger you go, it's lower it's just gonna get because you can't go any wider. And I didn't even think that would be a thing, but having a build so big, that's really insane, man. But that makes sense. Just know, wide open in the back, and then it's like a horn. You know, just walk by, you get blasted by bass. You know, that's insane. Jason, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Sorry, I'm late. Andy, Travis, couple of them pennies, sir.
Hey,
Sounds
Jason.
like he wants to give you the pennies. These guys just love the pennies. I love the pennies too. No joke, man. Living Loud with Andy Day. They gave Kayla pennies to bring up to my room the day of my show. Didn't even tell me. She went out and met up with these guys, okay? And then here I got pennies up here, so I just started showering myself with pennies. It was literally insane.
Oh,
We
that's
usually
great.
just have fun and, answer certain questions, but it's like, I wanted to get you on here too, because one, you're Travis Young. Two, I just got this MD Salt 20 off of you. I almost said 20K. It seems like one. But it's just like, I haven't done Kicking with Andy. We haven't had any like in-depth learning videos, and I felt like this was definitely going to be one of them.
Absolutely. It's always fun to watch things blow up, and
Yes.
unfortunately the videos aren't more exciting, but boring safety videos as a battery engineer is the biggest thing that I can ask for. It makes me sleep at night so much better, because I know how I was. Again, I was the guy with the tar-filled cap at one point. We all don't know shit at some point.
Yep.
And we all want to be cool and do big systems and just follow what everybody else is doing. It's easy to miss little things. Sodium kind of lets you get those misses and not feel like you're going to blow yourself up. So yeah,
safety cannot be stressed, man. Like Slamology, prime example with that battery blowing up just in front of everybody, and
and
it's just
to throw a little to my guy Scotty Johnson. That battery should not have been under the hood. It was not an underhood rated. It was one of their XVs, which they say you can use in a drag race car. A drag race car is not on for more than a couple minutes at a time.
Yeah.
It is not rated for daily underhood use. A. B. There was a whole big old honking system behind it. And the way that you're going to pull from batteries, they were pulling way too much power from that battery also. So it was going to overheat just being under the hood. And then they started over discharging it. And what happened is what's going to happen. And why we tell people no batteries under the hood, period. I don't care what your lithium manufacturer told you. Put it in back. Put a battery delete up front. Put it in back. There's no amount of insulation that you can do.
No.
We took those pictures, and if the terminal's getting to 160 degrees, what's inside and what it's touching is also going to start to get to 160 degrees.
Yep, it just transfers right through. And that's what's crazy about these sodium batteries and even the JYNXTs. Just because you don't have to have a lithium under the hood, you can have an AGM starting battery, and it's not going to catch on fire. And then you got all your bank in the back to supply your power, and you're good to go. And when I seen that, I seen the JY or the JP or JY, because there is the JP stuff too, but the JY40s in the back there, he had like 3 of them, and I'm like, oh man, that's sad. But then I thought about it, I'm like, he had lithium iron phosphate in the back, and then he had lithium titanate up front. And I'm like, you shouldn't do that, regardless. And then it's under the hood. I'm like, oh god.
So you have a little bit of leeway overcharging lithium titanate. It's not going to blow up in your face. You're definitely going to cut down on the cycle life if you're going above 13.8 on a 5S pack. So it's the Power S5. Power S6 14.8. You're not going to get a ton of power out of it because it's got a lot of top charge and not a lot of bottom charge. So that's why you want to charge Titans in like the mid 15s if they're the S6s.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So mixing them, it's not ideal, no, but you could bump your charge voltage down on your HP 40s so that you were only a little overcharging the LTO and only a little undercharging the HPs. Or you could just put a battery delete up front and put them all in back and put the right kind of batteries in and let her wang. Like
exactly. Exactly. Sometimes we just make it harder on ourselves and, piecing things together. Oh, he bought that. And then he's like, oh, I'll buy this and put the JY40s in the back. And it's just, you really got to know this stuff. And it's surprising that it happens, because these guys got a lot of money. They have these beautiful builds. And then it's like they skip the steps of learning how this stuff works and, just being safe about their system. It happens to everyone.
Basic people wanting to open up a manual and read it is few and far in between, unfortunately. The amount of good battery information out there, even though, I give Scotty a pass because it's in his manual what temperature ranges are appropriate for his batteries. Because he does say, hey, if you have a really hot engine bay, don't put this in there. But it's in the manual.
Here's your manual, by the way. It's very clear and decisive of pretty much, what you should run. Go ahead. Go over. This is the MD20 right here.
So, and actually the nominal capacity here, this kind of blew our minds. When you see this 7C, that is not the C rate of the battery. That is the C rate at which we tested the capacity. So normally the higher drain you put on, the less energy you're actually able to pull out. Nah, man, these things, they measure the same exact at high rate as they do at low rate.
Wow.
I even tried like half a C. I took 2 hours to discharge one, and I still got the same numbers. So it was really, really, really cool. Don't need really any notes on weight, pounds, blah, 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 blah. 20 amp hours. We came in at 9 pounds. That was my estimate. These actually came in at 7.5 pounds.
Wow. I know they're super duper light, man. They really
yeah.
are.
The ACIR is the internal resistance. So, and then average cycle life at what charge and what discharge rate. So 4,500 cycles. Now we're recharging it and discharging it faster than that. But we're not actually doing full cycles.
No, we're not. Exactly. We're not completely charging it and completely discharging it. So you're going to get a crap ton more.
You're going to get a lot. Yeah. Even though you're applying a lot more current, you're doing it in pulses. Nobody here is ever doing full cycles. And then on top of that, we talked about this the other night, where most bass lines are 15 to 20 seconds long, or it's just a bump, 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 and you're pulsing off of it, and it's recharging so fast that you're almost using the battery more like a capacitor than you are like a battery.
That makes sense, right? Because it can be able to be charged so fast. Because that's the thing with AGM batteries; they just don't charge fast. They just
That's
don't.
actually a thing with LTO batteries too. since there's six, there's a reason JY does not have like mainstream LTO batteries. So when we did testing years ago, and we did all of the popular brands that were out, there were 7 different brands included, and I'm not talking audio brands, I'm talking cell manufacturers, so stuff that's out in the market, stuff that's not out in the market, but more importantly, skib 10s, skib 20s. So what is in like the Power S5 and the Power, or the Power and the Reserve from XS. There's other people selling copies of those, but XS is the one where you get brand new cells from. So that's who we're going to mention. We're not going to mention.
I was running down that road because I got a bank of ding dongs, and I was looking at
ding
the
dongs are cool.
XSs.
That's the next one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can get. I mean, you might run into issues buying ding dongs randomly. At least you have a DOA warranty with XS. Since it's DIY, they're not going to give you any other kind of warranty, but at least you have a DOA warranty. So, but ding dongs were in there also. And then we had some other random cells that just never made it to market in mass scale. But the spread, realistically, what the test was we had 2 DD 100 amp power supplies, and they were, for the LTO, they were set at 15.5, and for the LFP battery, because we only tested one, it was set at 14.8. So we sat down and we played a 400 amp, which just kind of happened to be with Yinlongs, the skibs, with the 20 amp pack that we were doing. We were just able to, or we used a 40 amp hour pack, but that was the rated discharge rate of everything, was right around 400 amps. So we let 400 amps pulse on music, and we just let the song repeat until we got below X voltage, right? So for X voltage on the LTO products, that was 13.0, because that crowd, if you're charging in the 15s, you start getting below 13, you're starting to feel uncomfortable. That's just what I have perceived. Like, that battery may be able to run to 9, but you are uncomfortable at that point.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's where we called it with LTO. And then with LFP, even though you can go below 12, we called it at 12.0. So I've seen
11.9s, 11.3s.
Yeah, that's okay. Especially flashing it,
Yeah.
But so with all LTO products, the very best one was the Skib 10. By leaps and bounds, the Skib 10 I think lasted 20. I think it was 28 minutes. So pretty good.
Yeah.
200 amps available, not measured, available. No. What it's actually going to pull is different from what is there, and that's due to resistance. But Yinlongs, I think, were only last about 21 minutes. Power or reserve cells did bad. I think they lasted like 18 minutes, which is why you're not supposed to. That's why it's called a reserve. You're not supposed to be draining it that quickly.
No.
So
low discharge in a long time. Yeah.
Reserve and power, almost like you're supposed to pull power out of this one, and you're supposed to let this one run a long time. So yeah. Kind of everything fell where we thought it was, but there was about a 10-minute spread between the worst cell and the best cell. Switch to LFP, bump charge voltage down to 14.8, reset our cutoff to 12.0. We turned it off after 2 hours.
Wow. Because
the LFP in between the beats was able to pull enough power to just stay charged and never fell below 12.3.
That's insane. So because it could take that charge, it never got completely depleted, because you have power in, power out. Think of it like water. I love that example. And filling up a tub, and you got so much draining out, and it seems like that tub just never became empty. There was always some kind of water in it in that test that you did, since it could go that 2 hours without bottoming out and running out of water. You know,
Yep.
that's crazy.
And with that, it comes down to realistically, like, how many cells in series are we trying to recharge right now? Because every time we add something in series, it bumps the resistance up. So, so LTO batteries, the one that was in Bully Goat was a 90 amp hour. Company named Dong Turbo made the cells. Yeah, they were flat pouches, and we were able to get 15 to 20 C discharge recharge out of them. They're just a little bit costly, unfortunately. That's why we ended up kind of ending the project with them. But Bully Goat had a 90 amp hour in there, and I had a 350 amp alternator. And when I was playing my amplifiers, I could pull 350 amps. But I would drain the LTO down to 13 and turn the system off and let it recharge. Pull 90 amps fucking consistently.
Wow,
Consistently,
just
more than
trying to
90 amps.
Trying to
That's
charge.
all it's gonna, yeah. So
Wow.
you can go, anybody that has an LTO battery can go and measure this. Like, your LTO battery is not going to be pulling as hard as an LFP battery or an NMC battery, or a sodium battery, or an LIC. Anything that is a 4-cell pack that has a lower resistance is going to pull more to recharge itself quicker, and that gives you longer play time.
Lower resistance, more power, and it's going to demand more power from the alt. But then that could be a thing too, where, hey, make sure you be careful, because you might fry your alternator trying to charge up this thing too.
Well, not only that, but then we start getting into, like, why aren't there little teeny tiny lithium batteries? Like, why did the NXT have to be a thing? Why can't I just have a 4 amp hour lithium battery? Well, if you take a so we have these really cool 7 amp hour LFP cells. They're about the size of a cell phone. They're about this big. And you can discharge 150 amps out of them. You can discharge 150 amps out of them, and they stay nice and cool, and voltage is great.
Yeah.
Problem is, you hit them with 100 amps of recharge, and they're doing 140 degrees within about a minute.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yep.
It's a lot on
Yep.
So I know
So
whenever I was metering mine, like for like 2 30-second runs, but it was clamping like 4,000 plus over and over and over. Because like it was just the voltage was dropping so low, the amps were going into like a semi-limp mode and then coming right back out, because they were getting charged and then discharged, discharge, you know, just enough to keep the amps to go. And then I went to go check them out, and they were just warm to the touch. And I'm like, all right, maybe this is a little too much, but still, they weathered the storm, and that's a lot. 2 CX1800s at half ohm, you know, on a quad box. It was impressive. They were like, wow, that's all the electrical you have back there? I'm like, yeah.
it all fits into the palm of your hand. Yep. So
Don't suggest doing that at home, though, folks. You know, but you can. But
and hey, that's if people want to know, like, hey, am I stressing my battery out? I don't have a fluke. I don't even have a voltmeter. What can I do? Touch your bus bars that are attached to it. If those bus bars are hot, inside the battery's hot. So
makes sense,
because you're directly connected with a heat pipe. Like, if it transfers energy well, it transfers heat well. So that 3 foot long 1-aught going from your alternator to your front battery, that is a heat pipe, and your alternator, especially if it's high output, can get to 300 degrees. So within 20-30 minutes, that's going to have your terminal at 150 160 degrees. So we have that testing also posted on the JY page, where I show a heating element where we hooked up 1-aught to it, and we let it sit for half an hour. And I was going around SLAM too, taking pictures, thermal pictures of people's batteries, and showing them, like, hey, your battery terminals are 155 degrees right now. That means your internal battery's that hot. So it doesn't matter how much insulation you put out on the outside of the battery. Like, most of these batteries are built with an air gap anyways. So air is an amazing insulator, but copper's not, aluminum's not, like nickel's not. So if, like,
I didn't even think about that. That's insane. You can measure the terminals to measure the inside temperature of a battery.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the inner cells are still going to be hotter. Like, the ones that are smushed into the middle are still going to be the warmest ones.
Yeah, that's how I
But you
measure
get
my
an
coil,
idea.
you know, right off the motor. I mean, it's not as close, but it gives you an indication.
you have something, and you don't need
Yeah.
any special tools. So
No.
Tesla batteries are terrible. Is there a better solution to
What
go?
kind of cells are in those in the Tesla?
Depends on which one you're getting. They have LFP cells, which are great. I love that they're using LFP in their lower end. And they're actually probably going to have a sodium option soon. Not
Really?
soon, within the next few years.
Yeah.
And you want to see $20,000 cars again? There's your $20,000 EV. It's sodium, and it'll be able to recharge in 6 to 10 minutes. There you go. No range anxiety. So
No,
yeah,
that's-
that's
you know, and
that's
that's-
going to be the thing.
You know what? This almost makes me think of like space travel being more accessible of distance, because that's the hardest thing is,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel like we need something that's better than what we
Yeah.
already have. And to be able to, you know, have more capacitance and yet still have the discharge, you know, have a
Yeah.
happy medium, is getting you closer than you've ever been before
Yep.
with stuff, you know.
Solid state lithium is going to do that also, but I don't think we're going to see solid state lithium come into car audio.
Yeah,
So,
what is? I've heard of these solid state batteries being the best battery in the world, supposedly. What
Yeah.
is solid state
They're-
battery? What
they're
is-
still
what is
getting
that?
there. Somebody just this week passed UN approval, so that's a pretty big milestone for them. But
Getting there, like flying the Wright brother airplane, like they're getting ready to take.
yeah, like it's always been like just one more little step and we got it.
Yeah.
Type deal. But so you get rid of that organic electrolyte that I've been talking about this whole time. That's in our capacitor. They're in EDLCs. They're in sodiums. They're in lithiums. They're in everything. There's organic electrolyte in all of these products.
What's
it
SPIM
changes it.
cells? SPIM cells are fire.
NMCs.
MMC. Okay.
No, those can start on fire too. I was one of the first people to play with those. I love them. Don't get me wrong. For $7 a pop, like they're a pain in the ass to work with too. Brad's done some work on that to make it easier to work with them, which I think is awesome. And they're pretty safe cells. I'm not saying like, hey, those are huge fire hazard. Don't think it's fireproof. It's not. You're gonna hurt yourself. Still
Jake might be
respect
just
the
pulling
battery.
your leg.
He
Yeah,
probably
you
is.
always
He
have.
probably is. Yeah.
You always have.
But
yeah.
Blake asked, what should he put under the hood? An empty case. If you have an AGM battery and it's under the hood, you're still nuking its cycle life, it being under there. It may not be a safety hazard, but if you paid $500 for a battery, and if you want to put it under your hood, it'll last you 2 years. But if you put it in your back, it lasts you 5 years. Which one do you want to do?
Yep. Got to throw it in the back.
It's up to you.
man.
It's your choice.
You know. Yeah.
So, yeah,
You-
like heat kills batteries, heat
Yep.
wears batteries out, and under hoods is hotter than any interior. Try and keep things out of direct sunlight, but as far as you do that, ambient temperatures inside cars generally don't get much over like 130 at the hottest points of the day.
Yeah.
And you're not going to heat soak the battery that fast, but when you've got the cables connected up to it and it's in a 160, 170, 180 degree environment, it's different. It's different.
And
It's
that's why
hotter.
it gets even hotter than that, especially with my old cars. You know what I mean? Like they're just
Depends
they're
on what it
running
is.
hot.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
Eclipse runs hot, you know. But ever since I got that Warhorse amp, I'm telling you, man, it does the same power, and I'm pulling less electrical because I've had
Nice.
2 JYs in the back there before, and it's like my electrical is like, I'm like, but how to? Like I've learned a few things, made connections a little better, but it's like I
Yeah.
didn't really do that much more, and it's just amazing. It's just
That's
it's,
awesome.
It's nuts. Like the only time I drop below 14 is like when I've been going for a long time, and then you know, and it's like I'm sitting there idling. Like it's insane, but it would be
There-
cool to try the
He's got
newer batteries with a bunch of
Yeah.
them.
He's got a floating boombox with SPM cell or SPIM cells. That's a great idea too. Like I'm all about recycling batteries because people always think they're like, "Oh, you say batteries are unsafe." I'm like, I say fucking everything's unsafe. You just need to be aware and be willing to. Like he even said, he only wants to use it in certain circumstances. So like. I don't have a problem with someone building a bank out of them. It's your car for the first thing, right? If you want to burn the motherfucker down, I don't care.
That's a you problem, sir.
Yeah,
That's a-
please just don't do it with my product, like, because like
Yeah.
it's bad headlines regardless, and it makes it hard for me to sleep at night. Okay, but I'm all for DIY. JY started with us being DIY guys. I got into audio because I was a DIY guy. That's why I'm so active in the forums, and we give as much information as we can instead of just selling product to people. Like if you want to come buy our built products, we put a lot of effort into them. We have really great dealer programs, but our built products are really meant for people that are kind of either just getting into car audio or they want something super reliable and with something that's unique. We always have something that is unique about our specific batteries versus everybody else's.
You guys always seem to be ahead of the trend, per se. I would, that's how I would describe it, or at least in the car audio realm. I see a lot.
We were the third company to come out with a lithium product, and we actually started our business so Juicebox released theirs, and I bought one of the original 80s. Then XS released his XS SPL line, and then we launched.
You're number 3. Yeah.
We were all within 6 months of each other too. So now, and now the three of us, it's pretty much just Scotty and I left. So
what happened to Juicebox? So you just
they morphed to MI Solar, and then kind of just I think he got more interest in contracts in non-audio stuff. He's still, I think his family actually owns a small battery store. I don't even know how small it is, but they own a battery store, and that's kind of what got him into it. So Kevin's a really cool guy. I don't have anything bad to say about Kevin. If it weren't for Kevin, I may have never even looked at him, because at the time I was playing with capacitors and everything like that. So
those are fun too, though. But still, that's crazy. So you guys were the third lithium company in car audio. That's amazing. Because you see a few different other ones out there, and it's just I know. Well, what's up with the Down for Sound ones? Or you want to say anything about that, or are we going to keep that under wraps?
Well, let's just say if it looks like a duck and it smells like a duck, it's a duck.
There you go, folks. I seen a question earlier. That's why I figured I'd...
NXTs are not allowed to be sold online. Dealers asked us that they wanted NXTs to be exclusive for brick and mortar dealers. So we gave them what they wanted. Down for Sound is also a very large client of ours that I would hate to cut it off. So we kind of came to a happy medium point. His JP2HCs somehow fit in the same mount as the NXT. I don't know how he did it, but
it's kind of perfect. It's almost like
it's weird.
It's like the guys at Pile, looking at the kicker, copying it. No, that's awesome though, and right, man, absolutely.
And we're working on some new products for them also, because we've always had a big online following, but
thank you,
yeah, no, Kevin is good people's. You're not gonna see. I wasn't flipping him off either. That was my fingers getting taken away by my screen.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, no, Kevin's good people all around. He taught a lot of people, including myself, what lithium could do, and a lot of us just ran with it. So
it's awesome. There's always the foundation. Sheets Brothers, there was 2. Lithium, it seems like it was you 3 guys, and people split their ways. Even with Team SPL, there was 3 of us, and I'm the last one and still doing it. The other guy moved around, and the other guy just kind of fell off, but he's still around. And you don't hate him. You're just like, hey man, how you doing? And it's awesome though, man. And I'm glad I'm friends with you, and I bring you on the shows when I can. And I know you're
coming
busy.
On.
Yeah, it's fun. I know the guys are probably like, man, I want to talk to Andy, but you guys got to learn some stuff. And this guy knows everything about lithium. I mean, one of the founders of Car Audio Lithium. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. It's awesome. Baba, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome and very informative. A very informative stream. I look forward to seeing more discussions about improvements in battery technology. And yes, we'll definitely bring him on again, when we got some more products to talk about, and whenever he wants to come on. I know he's busy.
Absolutely. So thanks for having me on, Andy. It was great.
Absolutely, man. And with that, we'll cut you out. If you want to hang out towards the caboose, we always do the caboose. If not, you can bounce. Be whatever you want to do.
I gotta go eat.
All right, sounds good, man. Thank you so much for joining with me tonight, and I'll bring you on another time. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's good seeing you. Thanks, guys.
See ya, man. How cool was that, guys? Man, an hour and a half. An hour and a half. It's the after party. This is what we're doing here. SDK enclosures, $5 super chat. I vote we fully charge every battery available and do some full auto discharge testing. I mean, you could. I know I have a bunch of batteries just for the Power Wheels, and I kind of want to wire them up just all together for just some reason. I don't know, but I feel you on that, Jake. Thank you so much, man. David, appreciate all you guys, man. I feel terrible for not being able to get to all your guys' comments and stuff, and Deviant just wants to go to the after party. But having Travis Young, literally the founder, I didn't even know that. Like, how cool is that? I'm kind of starstruck, and it's just, you know, they're people too, man, and someone's got to start it, and it's just cool to be around the people that kind of have, at least for car audio and lithium and stuff like that, because, man, have we come a long way since that's entered the realm of car audio, just lithium batteries in general, man. It really has. Double E, excellent chat. So much information. I know, man. I could pick his brain all the time, but I'm learning more and more from him. I really am. You know, he's got little innuendos. I'm like, what? SCIB? What? Oh, sodium battery. Okay. You know, trying to keep up as much as I can, but you know, I get the general stuff about it, and I hope you guys learn more about it as well. You know, because it's just a lot to dive into. It's not for the simple-minded, but we want to learn more about batteries and just the different chemistries and what's going to work for your car and price and stuff like that, man. Dub, thank you. Awesome stream as always. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, Dub, for your earlier super chats. Mr. William, thank you, buddy. You are a rock star. Great show. Thank you guys, man. You guys are awesome. I love you guys so much. Have a great after party. Also, Dave, you got to jump in the after party. Come on, man. Come on. All right, guys. Well, whew, I wanted the show to go a little bit over an hour, and yeah, Travis, he's like, I'm done. Bar's closing, so it was like kind of perfect. An hour and a half works out perfect for the show. Trying to think when we'll be live next. Yeah, next Friday. But this weekend's gonna be 4th of July, and so you guys have an excellent 4th of July. You'll be seeing a Walmart video probably before then. I'm hoping it should be done. I got one more part to record, and it's done. And then Tuesday, nothing. Friday, we'll be back here again. And then that following Tuesday is Kicker, and then Friday, and then that following Tuesday is Kicking It With Andy, and then we're back full tilt boogieing it every other Tuesday, July 18th. It's going to be awesome. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. John, where's the hummus? Where's the hummus? Thank you, Ashy. I will see you guys next week or in the Discord after party. Oh, what did I do? I just hit spacebar, did something. Huh, that's weird. All right, guys. I'll see you in the caboose.
Okay. So we're kicking it with Andy, right? You know what that means. We living loud.
take Rookie of the Year, but I'll take Cookie of the Year. Thank you, John. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Next Friday, it's going to be a free-for-all like we always do, but I had to bring Travis on. He is awesome. Love you guys.
Live in love with Andy.
I like Quackers. I like Quackers. Blazers. Blazers is pretty cool. Blazers roller skating rink. Justin just comes in for the music. I love you guys. And man, still 37 of you guys just to watch the intro outro, the mean remix from Deviant. Appreciate you guys. Cornut coming in with the train of the caboose. And then we got Mr. SDK Enclosures. I got caboose peasants. Y'all don't want up this. Jake, I think you're going to take it tonight. But then no, Baba comes in, you know. But then Dave comes in last second with the $2 super chat. Oh, Ashy got it. Ashy stole it.